Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood. And today our very special guest is Ruth Dennis with Vista Living. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing? Good.
And so today we're gonna venture into talk about probably a little bit more about Alzheimer's and today. And so a lot of people don't they think Alzheimer's, dementia, it's the same, it's not the same. Can you get a little bit more information for our listeners about the two?
I can. The general consensus and the description that the Alzheimer's Association uses is that think of dementia as an umbrella and all the little drops falling off it are different diseases. Alzheimer's is one of those diseases. I like the analogy of a tree better. So the roots are all the different things that can cause or contribute to dementia symptoms. Depression, diabetes, untreated hypertension, untreated sleep apnea, PTSD, this whole host of things that can cause people to have symptoms of dementia, because basically all dementia is a cluster of symptoms. Short-term memory loss is the most notorious one, but also confusion, social withdrawal, depression, difficulty with logic and reasoning and judgment, sometimes addictive behavior or obsessive behavior. And from that trunk of that tree, from those symptoms, there are different disease processes, which are the branches, different kind of families of diseases. Alzheimer's is the best researched and the most well-known. There are also Parkinson's-related dementias. There is Pick's disease or frontal temporal lobe dementias related to addiction, genetic dementias such as Down syndrome, early onset. Alzheimer's is now considered a separate disease process in many ways. So there are all these different variations that come off of a trunk of the same symptoms. And that's what dementia is the trunk. Alzheimer's is one of the branches.
So a lot of people, they see the symptoms, they see, things going on, and they like to call it one thing, so they like to call it, oh, they've got Alzheimer's or they've got dementia because they're seeing signs of, of dementia. And so, for the most part, everybody says, well, how do they tell it's dementia and not just, I lost my keys, I misplaced them, can't find my phone, the things that we just do because we're distracted and so
busy and tired. And
yeah, so what do they look for to really say, I should be concerned about this type of behavior?
I would look at and what's called person, place, or thing. Is it affecting your relationships? Are you withdrawing socially? Are you having difficulty with your emotions? Are you having problems managing your home? Are you having problems doing things that you were once good at? Are you behaving in a way that's not normal for you around things like money? And, are you ignoring health issues? About 10% of all those branches of dementia are treatable. They can go away. You can cure them. So it's really, really important to get a really good physical workup, get blood work done, get your heart checked out, get a sleep study. Really make sure there's not something going on that you can fix. The other piece that I think is really important for about early detection is the medications generally work better earlier on. So you're going to get more usefulness and more help out of them if you can get started right away. We have kind of a running joke at Vista that if I don't balance my checkbook, it's probably Tuesday. That's kind of normal for me. If my boss doesn't, then may want to call a doctor. If I can't talk, we may want to call a doctor. Because if you're losing the ability to do something that you have skills in, that you're good at, there could be something wrong. Also, I think a lot of folks will develop an anxiety or a depression because they know they're not putting things together. They know it's not like it should be, but there's a fear around knowing why, or it's easier to withdraw. Depression and dementia, think of a dog chasing its tail. It can become this vicious circle. You are a little confused, so you get depressed. So you withdraw, so you're not stimulating your mind. So you get more confused, so you get more, and it cycles. And it's a circle that you need to stop. Treating depression is really, really important.
So you wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
Show us the book. I know we saw it earlier. There you go. Mindful Dementia Care. And that's the Lost and Found in the Alzheimer's Forest. And so in the book, you talked about myths. And so, I think the number one myth was home is always better. Talk to us about that.
I think it's a cultural tendency to really want to say, I want mom or dad or my husband or my wife to always be in our home. We should stay in our home. We built this home. We have this home. This is the best thing. Not always true. One of the big factors in worsening dementia is depression and isolation. A lot of folks, as they get deeper into dementia, need more help. The person that they have the most contact with is the person who's caring for them. The person who's caring for them is kind of always nudging them to tell them, you need to do this, you need to get your shower, let's get this done, let's do this. Think of trying to live with you. And I have a great boss, so forgive this analogy, but I would not want to have him 5 foot away from me for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, telling me what I need to get done. Someone with Alzheimer's or with any type of dementia and a caregiver, it's a similar relationship. You've got someone who's probably very loving and very supportive, but that someone is always, let's eat lunch, let's get our shoes on, we have to go to the doctor, we have to go to daycare. And it's not a peer relationship. What a lot of folks really, really crave and really get out of a day program, an Alzheimer's cafe or an assisted living, is a peer relationship, is somebody who's going through the same thing that they can tell the same story to 500 times a day, and it's still funny, and the people around them want to hear it. Which is, if you're a caregiver alone in a house, and COVID amplified this by 1,000 times, and someone's telling the same story or the same joke or asking for the same thing 500 times a day, you lose your patience, you get tired. Whereas the group of folks who also have short-term memory problems hear that story and it's still funny. And so there's the kind of reassurance. Also, I have seen over the years, and I don't think I think we need to talk about this a lot more. I've seen elders, even really, really deep into dementia, develop really nurturing and supportive relationships with one another. And that's important. That is a big, big thing. And you don't get that one-on-one with a caregiver, no matter how good the caregiver is.
No, one of my clients came in, and her dad is in a memory care facility, and she came in and she says, he's got a girlfriend. And she says they just hug and kiss each other all the time. And I said, "Are you okay with that?" Because a lot of family members are not okay with that. She goes, "Oh, no, no, I'm fine." I said, "But how about the other family? Are they okay with it?" And she says, "Yes, luckily we've all, had a conversation, and everybody, was like, yes, they're happy. We're not, they keep an eye on them, but, they're happy, and that's all that matters, and so that's good, because sometimes you just need somebody just to give you a hug and,
just
tell
to
you,
hang out with.
yeah, tell you look pretty, so because everybody wants one of those at least sometime during the day. And so let's keep going. So myth number 2 is one that we see very similar in my office, phrased a little differently. Usually they're telling us, oh, they're not that bad, and your myth is they're my loved ones not like those people, so.
I think there's a tendency for families to look for a miracle, to look for. It's interesting. I had a family member one time, and the person was a professional. They were a healthcare professional, but they could see every other elder in the buildings decline except their moms.
Yeah.
And mom was pretty severe. She was pretty far along. But you don't have that objectivity. You see in some ways what you want to see. And as a family member facing someone who you're going to lose, who has a terminal illness, you want to see a miracle. A lot of times that miracle's not there. What ends up happening is folks will tour, and we've had this happen a lot at Vista, and they'll see the elders and, oh, this is a great place. Your staff is so loving. Your staff is warm. But my mom's not like those people. She wouldn't have anybody to talk to. But then your mom's in a beautiful apartment complex, and nobody will sit with her in the dining room because she repeats herself. And, whereas she would walk into the assisted living, into the Alzheimer's program, and be the most popular gal in school. She'd be the leader of the building. And that is a big deal. It's a big deal for someone to have something to give back. And that's one of the pieces that Vista is very involved with, the Eden alternative. And one part of the Eden alternative is that you need to cure helplessness. Elders need to be able to contribute, even with dementia in its deepest phases. And elders can. And the denial is really, really, it can get in people's way, and it can keep people from thriving. And I think it's really important to understand that, yeah, your mom may not be, or your dad or your husband or wife may not be like those people right now, but at 2 a.m, they probably are, or worse. Or tomorrow, this person may be in wonderful shape and able to show you the whole building and tell you what stocks to buy. It depends.
So when you're talking to families, can you give us a few ways to help support the family, that's facing this kind of process?
I think knowledge is power.
Me too.
The more you know, the more you learn, the better off you are, the less scary it is. I also think it's really, really important. And family care, I come from being a family caregiver as well as being a professional, but family caregivers need rest. They need time away from it. Alzheimer's 24/7 is hard enough if you've got it. 24/7 if you're trying to take care of somebody is impossible. You can't do it. So get respite. I would also say be very specific. If you know your next door neighbor is a caregiver, mow their yard. Bring them a bag of groceries. Hire somebody to clean the house. I also think resources are important.
It's like make dinner. That's what I'm always looking for. Somebody to
Yeah,
make
make
dinner.
dinner, order pizza. Just because a lot of times it's the very, very basic stuff that really helps.
Yeah.
That dinner being delivered twice a week makes a difference.
Yeah.
That
So
picking up your laundry and taking it home makes a difference.
yeah, I'm a big believer the little things matter more than the big things. And
Yeah.
so we know that memory loss is not the only sign of dementia. How do we deal with someone who's got great verbal and social skills but poor functioning skills? Because we see that as well.
And you see it a lot. And I know you're a lawyer, so I'm not picking on lawyers, but I've seen doctors and lawyers fall for this more than a few times, where someone they can put themselves together really, really well. They're smart.
Mhm.
Dementia doesn't make you stupid, but they can't do the basic daily things that keep them functioning. So they don't have the judgment to get the groceries done or to, make sure they get to appointments or take their meds properly. But they can talk up a storm and really convince somebody that they can be independent. Oh, I could really do fine in my own apartment if it was just the right place. I'm past all that now. I'm healthier, Why don't you change my power of attorney or revoke the guardianship or write a note that I can be in an independent living? And then what happens is they crash and burn. Not all dementias, memory loss is not the first symptom. The frontal temporal dementias, a lot of times it's judgment and reasoning and emotional control. Not the memory is in pretty good shape, but putting it together with what you remember isn't. Alcohol-related dementia can be a really big one in this because a lot of times part of the brain gets affected and another part doesn't. So you'll have somebody who's very bright with great verbal skills who can't function. And that, I think we need to start looking at dementia as a whole. Our picture of dementia is kind of the person sitting in the corner in the wheelchair, not making any sense at all. That's not an accurate picture of dementia. A more accurate picture of dementia is there are a lot of differences and variations. I've seen people with no verbal skills at all, but great functioning skills. I've seen folks who could convince you I've actually seen folks convince folks to let them walk out of the building with them because they seem like a visitor. Oh, yes, I was visiting my friend May, and it's great to meet you. And, oh, yeah, I've been on the plaza. Why don't you go to such and such restaurant? I'll go out with you. I'll meet you. And then they couldn't find their car in the parking lot. So they walked back to the building with help. It's functioning is really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a tendency to forget how complicated.
Yeah, that's true because it's sometimes very difficult. Sometimes you can talk to someone and sometimes you have to talk to them long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just have a conversation. I enjoy just sitting having conversations, and we run the gamut, back and forth of things that happened, maybe years ago, now back to this one, bring them back to a different place and kind of switch them up so that it makes it a little harder to follow sometimes. And you can do that with just a conversation, as far as it, but it's still, there are some people that are very good. If you hadn't seen them at their worst, you wouldn't know when they're having a good day that, that this wasn't.
Or have
difficult.
you walked in the house and opened up the refrigerator?
Yeah. And so most definitely. And so
Yeah.
Ruth, let me tell you, so tell everybody how they can get your book.
It is available on Amazon. The best place to get it is actually through our website, vistaliving.com. And there's also a website for the book, mindfuldementiacare.com. So
Perfect. And so I just wanted to thank you so much for being on the show today. And I look forward to visiting again with you soon.
you are welcome. I hope it's helpful.
It's always helpful. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.